Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here, and welcome to episode 8 of Cheap Competitive Contenders, the series where you take a budget deck list of under $100 and then face off against the metagame. So this episode we're going to be taking a look at Sky Striker, which is a deck that's actually been on the community tab poll for quite some time, but I just never got around to featuring it because it never really won any of those, but finally it did take a win here. So we're going to be exploring what this anti-meta strategy has to offer, because a lot of people right now, of course, are blinding second. They're just jamming in 15 plus hand traps and then trying to stop the combo decks in their tracks. And while I certainly believe that that's a very good strategy for the deck, we can't really do that for the purposes of this series because a lot of the hand traps actually amount to being over budget when you just add them all up, right? Ash is still somehow over $10. You got Nibiru in that price range as well. Even with the reprint, I don't know if it'll crash down low enough. If the prices do end up being low to where you can afford them, by all means, go ahead and switch up the strategy. But for the purposes of building a deck from the ground up, I thought I'd take a little bit of a different approach and a bit of a unique one, as you guys can see. And I will explain my choices, don't worry. But I did also ask you guys if you wanted to see a more blind first list with a lot of floodgates, similar to the one that my friend Evan played for the 3v3 LCS. Go ahead and check out the content for that on the channel if you guys are interested in that kind of a build, because I have both a deck profile and a couple of matches from that tournament. And if you guys want to see a different style, then that is one that you guys are able to have access to if you desire. But the one that did ultimately win more favorability was the blind second list with 0 hand traps and just all board breakers, which is the entire namesake of this deck. So if you guys do want to look at the price breakdown, I have it for you guys on screen right now. And you can see that apart from Rose, which is somehow a $13 card that I did not realize until I started making this video, the rest of the engine is very, very affordable. And that's one of the advantages of this deck, right? You have very cheap engine cards, so you're able to just kind of fill in the gaps with whatever suits your metagame or whatever you have access to, etc., etc. So that's all really, really good. And this deck is just generally going to be pretty good for the foreseeable future. You know, it's not really going to get any more hits. So it'll always have this sort of anti-meta spot in the metagame. But if you guys do want to check out the Google spreadsheet in the description, there will be links to API calculators and just, you can see the breakdown for yourself at your own leisure. And also, if you guys are interested in purchasing any of these cards, feel free to use my TCG Player affiliate link in the description box down below. Again, this is the only series that I am comfortable in plugging that, so if you want to help support the channel, then that would be greatly appreciated at no extra cost to you. Additionally, if you're interested in this type of content, whether it be this series or just informative Yu-Gi-Oh videos in general, I would implore you to subscribe if you're new here. If we reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of November, I will be doing a free giveaway tournament for all of you, so be on the lookout for that if we manage to reach that milestone. But without further ado, let's go ahead and explain this monstrosity because, oh boy, there's a lot to talk about here. So first off, we have the standard stuff, which is the monsters. So 3 Ray, 2 Rose, a Rhoda, and a Hornet Drone. So these are the 7 ways to access Sky Striker aces. I would like to play the 3rd Rose, but again, just being a bit out of our budget range, we kind of want to stay within that, so opting not to play it. But you do need to see some starter or Mystic Mine. But yeah, if you can play 3, I would probably recommend it. Some people are running 2 anyways, so that is up to you. It's definitely not horrible to run 2. But I just like having as many as you can conceivably run, just so you can see striker names. Then we have the 2 Area 0, which can also find you copies of the Sky Striker aces, but you also don't want your Area 0, or sorry, your set rotation to be dead, so you would rather just have multiples of these. And then we also have Multi-Roll as just a very, very strong broken recursion card. So these are the 10, I would say, pretty standard engine pieces. Next up, we have 22 cards that either force negations or just answer the board entirely. So the whole goal is to draw as many of these as you can, and then draw either Mystic Mine or a Striker monster as like your last follow-up, and then simplify the game state so that you can win. And if you look at the metagame right now, right, a lot of the decks just would fold to that kind of a thing, just fold to that kind of game plan. So let's talk about the cards specifically. So first we have Pankratops, classic blind second card, very, very powerful, especially with Herald still running around in the format. It extracts a lot of value just by itself and works very, very nicely with the decks, so obviously we're going to play it. Then we have Regeki and 3 Dark Hole. No, you are not hallucinating, this is actually legit. So I promise this looks kind of troll, but it's actually really good in practice, because think about it. All of these cards do is force your opponent to negate them, because if you look at the boards that Dragon Link or Dino or Infernoble end on, apart from small things like possibly an Ogier being equipped or like an extra miscellaneous source in hand, your opponent doesn't have insulation from these cards, so they're actually forced to negate them. What's cool about them, especially against like Dragon Link, is that they out the Buster Lock, And just if you open multiples of these, you're always going to be able to fire them off just in rapid succession. And these cards fulfill like similar purposes as the 1-for-1 cards in that they just trade. And ultimately, your goal again is just to simplify the game state, stick a Mystic Mine or just summon a Ray, and then you're good to go, right? So it might seem crazy, but in a dedicated hardbind second list, I don't think this is actually that bad right now. There's not a lot of protection. There's not a lot of value that people are getting right now. So I do think that these cards have a lot of potential for sure, just in such a combo dominated format. Book of Moon is a card that also trades 1-for-1. I wanted also something that would just be a little bit better going first, because obviously Regeki and Dark Hole do nothing going first. So these cards are good to be able to just set and stop your opponent's plays. I felt it was more impactful than something like Forbidden Chalice, which is another card I was considering. But this card also just forces your opponent to negate stuff, because not a lot of people are on like Appaloosa or just link-based negations. So being able to just stop, Savage or Herald or whatever else they might have, like a Dulka or something. Very, very nice there. Afterburner, very similar story. Just you could up this if you wanted to, even to 3, just based on the way this deck is built and the concept of it. But I overall just felt that like these cards, or Book of Moon in particular, was better going first, and these cards were just more threatening going second. But Burner is definitely also really good at just clearing up errant back row, and also possibly popping your own Area 0. We have 3 Widow Anchor, which again just fulfills the same role as a lot of these other cards. You do want to try and use this last if you can. If you don't have like Mystic Bind, just so you can take monsters and then like link them off for attack, do stuff like that. Mind Control, very similar type of card. Literally all these cards so far have been just ways to force your opponent to negate stuff. Then we have 3 Dark Ruler, which is the only card that blanket negates everything. This card will get cheaper once the Spirit Charmer structure deck becomes available in NA. So even though the deck is already under budget, this will definitely go down in price, and you can possibly even fit like the 3rd Rose or maybe even a Boros Sword into this list, which is cool. Then we have the 3 Mystic Mine itself, very fun card. And then we got Terraforming, we got Set Rotation, we got 2 copies of Shark Cannon, which does not actually break your opponent's board, but if you're not OTKing your opponent, you do need some type of defense or just ways to get your opponent's resources out of their cycle. So hitting things like extra miscellaneous sources, or like the Virtual World Shen or like the Fam Knight monsters, things like that. You just want to make sure that your opponent's resources are cut off. I have 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, truthfully, because I wanted to fit the side deck, or fit more stuff into the side deck. So I just threw these into the main. But if you wanted to play other stuff instead, this is definitely one of the flex spots. And then finally, running out with 3 Desires and Upstart. Good old draw cards. Extra deck is very straightforward. It's 3 Shizuku, 3 Kagari, 3 Hayate, 1 Kaina, 1 Zeke. All of these are very standard. Then we have both Area and Hita. Area is to take Needle Fiber, and then Hita is to take things against Noble. You could take Miscellaneous Source against Dino. You could take just like a wide variety of things like Ash. People are playing maybe Phoenix against your deck. That's good. And their whole purpose is to ladder up into Ningirsu and Bomber Dragon. I was playing Selene for a long time without realizing, wait, I can't actually use Selene's effect because I'm not playing any spellcasters. I was like, oh, you can like go Hita Area into Selene and then go into Bomber Dragon, but nope, that is not a thing when you don't have spellcasters in your deck. So took that one out for Ningirsu. It's nice because everything else basically either targets or destroys, so this is nice to have something that does neither. And then Bomber Dragon is the classic go-to for this deck. I was just barely unable to fit Boros Sword into this list, but this is like the next best thing. If you can afford Boros Sword, I would definitely recommend it. If you can do the access code stuff, would also recommend that. But again, this is a budget list from the ground up, assuming you are starting on 0. Pretty straightforward here. Then for the side deck, we got Jamming Wave as well as Cosmic for backrow decks. Admittedly, this deck, just the way it's built, is very, very weak against backrow decks. So if you're expecting more backrow decks, definitely switch up the side here, or even the main deck, just based on what you are expecting to play against, obviously. Then we have 3 Demise of the Land, 1 Metaverse, 3 Different Dimension Ground, 3 There Can Be Only One, and 3 Solemn Judgment. So Summon Limit was actually a little bit over budget, that's why it's not in here. But these are all just 13 cards that you can put in going first in place of things like Dark Hole, Regeki, Pankratops, Mind Control, just Dark Ruler, like all these cards that don't do anything going first. If you're expecting your opponent is going to make you go first, which is the majority of the time, then you just slap these in. and hope to floodgate your opponent out. Demise of the land was actually a little bit underwhelming, and I like hesitate to put this in here, but I figure a lot of people might want to just have this just as a way to get Mystic Mine, which is definitely not a bad call. Honestly, I would consider Torrential Tribute as well, just like similar to Evan's list. But this is overall a pretty good game plan to just board massively to go first and just hope to stun your opponent. So yeah, this is the basic concept of the deck, and with that being said, let's just go ahead and hop into the replays. Alright, so our first matchup is going to be versus Virtual World, formerly known as Datascape. This is one of the newer archetypes from Phantom Rage, and has quite a bit of promise as a rogue contender, being a bit of a combo deck. And I got to become a lot more familiar with these cards as I was playing with this matchup and just reading the cards more. So our opponent does go first, but this hand is not very good because there is no Datascape card or Virtual World card to put in the field to target for the level 6s. So he's actually just forced to pass here. And of course, a whole deck is based on our opponent making a board, so if they have no board, then a lot of our cards like Afterburner and Dark Hole and Mystic Mine are just going to be dead. So we just go ahead and play as best as we can, getting in for a little bit of chip damage. I don't use Ray to tag into Hayate in the battle phase because I don't want to lose the Gamma. Don't know what he's playing, and he didn't summon anything, so I just want to be safe. I could have gone for like another Widow Anchor just to have a little bit more defense, because my only defensive card here is Widow Anchor, but I am just assuming that my opponent passed, meaning that he wasn't able to actually amount to much of a play. He does have Imperm for the Kogari regardless though, and then he's going to Ash my Shizuku as well. So I'm feeling okay, but I then realized that literally any Datascape card or Virtual World card is going to just unlock his hand entirely. So he gets the Trap to his field with the Kowloon. I was almost called it the OCG name there. With Kowloon though. And then he's going to summon Kirin. He's going to get the Qinglong Engrave. And then he's going to get Rui to hand. Or not Rui, but Lulu. I have to remember that the TCG names are a lot different. Like very, very different. It'll be easier to pronounce them if I cast Dueling Book matches rather than Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro matchups. But yeah, he's just going to go ahead and summon a level 3 tuner. And this gets back Nyan Nyan. Which summons itself back if you summon a level 3. He's going to go into Vermilion, which goes ahead and pops a Widow Anchor to just force it. And then here, I'm not really entirely sure what to expect at this point. He gets a Lao Lao, which can summon from Grave, and then he goes for Croc. And then he goes for a Gigi, which can basically add an end phase from Grave to hand. And he goes for Shen Shen, which is basically a macro on legs that can bring itself back. And it doesn't banish itself when it leaves the field that way, so it just keeps coming back. So that's why Shark Cannon is really important in this matchup, just to get this one out of Grave. You don't want to hit a lot of the things because they can recycle them back and get pops with their trap. So just be careful about that. But yeah, this card is definitely a threat. But he's going to VFD me, calling Dark so that Ray can't trigger, and then pop my Shizuku with a trap. So it's pretty heads up play, just removing my engine there. He's going to get in for 58. And then set Imperm. And he's going to use the trap because he can only use it during his main phase. This one level modulates, which won't matter for the turn, but he needs to recycle 2 of them to get a pop off this. That's why he did it this way. And then he's just going to pass here. And he adds during the end phase with Gigi. And then here he's going to VFD me again. And then I'm like, alright, well, we have ways into trying to hopefully force him to use his resources. We have double Mystic Mine, so I'm just hoping that like he'll like instantly pop one and I can use the other one, which is why I don't use Dark Hole here. Yeah, so he does end up actually popping it, and then I just activate the second one, and then I just pass, hoping that he can't kill me here. Here he's going to use Qinglong, and then he's going to get a Gigi. I'm not really sure at the time why he did this, but then it becomes clear a lot later, as you'll see. I draw a copy of Cosmic, and I set it and pass. He draws Talents. He's going to Tribute Summon over VFD, and then since this is a macro from field for both players, he's actually going to synchro these off so that he can get more Virtual Worlds banished to field the trap to outmine. That was his plan, which is pretty smart. But I do have a Cosmic for it, so that's pretty good. He's forced to pass again. And I draw a copy of Area for turn. I go ahead and use Afterburner because I actually want to make a play. I'm able to sort of try and out the board because I know now that the trap can just easily out the Mystic Mine. I can't set in it forever, so I have to try and make a play sooner or later. So I go ahead and break my mind. I set Dark Hole, and then I reveal 3, I go ahead and use Hornet Drones. I go Hayate, I beat over the Cloud Castle, and then I send Rose just to have another Striker monster in grave, just in case like it ever comes up, because I don't really need any of the spells and traps at this point, or any spells rather in grave. So he's going to imperm me, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go for Shizuku again. I don't really have any good defense, but I'm able to actually just hit the Synchro out of grave during the end phase with a Shark Cannon. He rips Desires, which is really scary. He's able to get the city here, and then he gets the trap, which outs Shizuku. He prompted my Ray, and then that's why he could just talents, which was like pretty cheeky. And that actually just gets him back into the game here. I'm going to tag out Ray just so I have my Widow Anchor turned on ASAP. He's going to E-Telly for the Nyan Nyan and trigger the other Nyan Nyan in grave. I'm going to Kagari back the Afterburner just in case I live this turn. He's going to summon out the Kirin to send the Qinglong again, and then use that to search Gigi. So now he has like a whole bunch of monsters on the field. He's able to go Break Sword to hit the back row, and then I decided to chain Anchor to target the tuner, because I'm like, well, if I just let the Break Sword resolve, then I don't think he has another way to get a monster here. And he actually doesn't, so he just passes from this point. And then I draw Desires of my own, which is nice. It doesn't get me too far, but it helps out a little bit. I go ahead and use Afterburner, and then he chains the trap, targeting my Kagari, because I'm going to pop the trap with the Afterburner. I bring back Ray, and then I use Area on the Desires, that I drew off Desires naturally. Hit a Shark Cannon, which is decent. I go for Kaina, and I bring back Vermilion because it's a fire, so I can go into Hita, and I can Hita back the Vermilion. Then I can normal summon the Ray, go into Shizuku, which reduces the attack by enough to actually go for game here. So there's quite a lot of back and forth, but this deck can put out a lot of damage even without things like Access Code. Alright, so here in game number 2, he's going to make me go first, which is pretty expected because a lot of people anticipate Striker as just a go second deck right now. And this was at the stage of my testing where I wasn't entirely sure of how I wanted to particularly pattern my options for when I would anticipate my opponent to make me start. As you can see, Regeki being in the deck here post side. I just didn't have enough cards at the time. I wasn't siding as heavily to go first, as you see in the finalized build. So this is still like in the stages of testing, just keep that in mind. Here I go for a Ray, and then I make a Shizuku, and I kind of greedily use multi-roll to try and go for Shizuku end phase with the Widow Anchor setup, but it loses to Ash, and he has Lightning Storm as well. So yeah, that's kind of one of the weaknesses with this deck, is that all of your disruption is in back row, so any blowout back row cards like Feather Duster or Lightning Storm are going to blow you out. Here, he goes for E-Telly, and he has Riri to get a search as well as dump Qinglong. He goes for Coral Dragon, and then he normal summons the Gigi so he can bring back the Nyan Nyan. And then he has Lao as well to be able to reborn. So now he has a whole bunch of monsters. He goes for the Shen Shen, draws another copy of Gigi. He goes for Qinglong, which just puts another Nyan Nyan in grave for next turn. He's going to Gigi summon itself, excuse me, and then he's going to level modulate with the trap to boost the... I keep calling it Rui, but it's a Lulu. Gotta remember that the names are very different. But he's gonna go for the rank 6 here, Fan, which is insane against Striker because he's just gonna remove my Shizuku and also banish Ray from grave. So yeah, that just outs everything. And yeah, from this position, he doesn't have a line to game me, but he's going to go into Cicada King, which is like nice in its own right. I was like, oh, that's just another monster negate, but no, he's just gonna overlay for Zeus, which is honestly just fair enough. It's Phantom Rage, right? So yeah, he has Zeus, he has Shen Shen, and he has the trap. So yeah, there's no way I'm really actually getting out of this. I actually do have Regeki and I drew Cosmic, so it does kind of deal with the board, but Fan floats, and he's also able to bring back his Nyan Nyan. So literally, I went Regeki to clear 3 monsters, and then he summoned 3 monsters back anyway. He goes for the trap to pop my Rose when I go to normal summon it. I have the Cosmic for it, but I am realistically not able to actually out this board. I can do my best. I can go ahead and Kagari back the Widow Anchor, so I can steal the Lao here, and then I can go for a Zeke to banish the Nyan Nyan, which does prompt its effect, but I mean, kind of have to do what I got to do, right? That way I can hit over the Lulu and hope for the best. Shizuku end phase, can grab Shark Cannon to do the same play to banish the Shen Shen and just hope he can't make a play. But of course, he has Qinglong engraved, so he's able to make a play. He can summon Lulu as well as bring back the Yan Yan, and he can summon Lao Lao by targeting the Lulu, and then dump a Qinglong. He brings back a monster, and then he goes for Yugioh, which just sends a monster, right? Or sends a card? Yeah, sends any card. Yeah, so that is definitely enough for game. Alright, so game number 3 here, I'm of course going to elect for him to go first. And he drew Feather Duster, which is going to be, of course, very problematic. Because, like I mentioned before, this deck is very much reliant on its back row, rather than any sort of hand traps. So this game is certainly going to be a grind, because we're not OTKing with our build. So this is going to come in clutch for him to remove my defensive options. He's going to start off, of course, whoops, I accidentally clicked swap. He's going to start with Paw of Desires here. And he's going to pick up a copy of Kirin as well as the Lulu. He's going to activate Qinglong just so he can preserve his normal summon and summon Ruru from hand. Or Lulu. I keep calling it Ruru, I need to stop that. But he adds a Lao Lao to hand. Then he can summon the Kirin. Dump a copy of Gigi. He can use Lao Lao to dump Qinglong. And he can bring back the Gigi. And then Qinglong, go ahead and grab him a search for another Kirin. You can go for Croc to draw a card. He's going to go into Vermilion and go for VFD. And then set Imperm and set the trap, and then pass. So, quite a formidable board. Even though VFD isn't as great against our deck, it still slows us down a turn, because that's one less turn of using Hayate. He's not going to use it right away to play around like Widowmaker and like Imperm and stuff, I would imagine. I guess some of that Pankratops. Here he uses it, and then I'm just going to chain a response to hit the VFD just so it gets off the board. I'm going to go into Ray for Hayate. Just so I have like some sort of floating with my Striker engine. I could have just kept Ray in hand as well. Probably would have also been fine. I'm just going to also set 3 and pass. He is going to predictably Feather Duster me. I'm going to Shark Cannon, even though it's not really going to do much. If anything, Nyan Yan actually can actually return any banished card back. But with his desires, he actually did ban all 3 copies of his Nyan Yan. So that's why you're not going to see that this game. But yeah, this shuffles back any other banished card into the deck if it gets banished, not just Virtual Worlds. I'm also going to Cosmic hit a back row. Of course, it's the Imperm, not the one that can out Mystic Mine, so pretty important and unfortunate. Book of Moon also dies. He's going to Kirin target the Qinglong to send the Lulu to grave. He's going to use the Qinglong on field effect to negate his own Kirin. That way he has enough banished to activate the trap here. Because this banished one is from Desires, like from 10 to 1. So he's going to go ahead and pop my Hayate here, which prompts my Ray Engrave, of course. And he's just going to pass. I think he made a mistake in terms of his setup, because he should have been able to do a lot more than this, I feel. I think he added the wrong one off of... I can't remember if he resolved Gigi last turn, or if he searched the wrong thing off of Lulu. But regardless, definitely should have been more than just this, I feel. Here I draw a copy of Mystic Mine, not really going to do a whole lot. I do risk playing into Gamma, but I figure it's, he has less cards now, so might as well. Gonna hit with Hayate, gonna send Widowmaker, and then use Kugari to add back the Widow, and then set it, and then go into Shizuku. In hindsight, honestly, the trap didn't really do that much, because it just popped the Link monster that I got back anyway. Here he draws a copy of Lulu, which is very fortunate for him. He's able to get a Qinglong into grave and add a copy of Lao Lao, which is the reborn one. So he has Gigi, so he can add back during the end phase. He has Lao Lao, which can summon. Here I chain to take control of the non-tuner, because I was thinking, okay, that's that's his synchro play gone, and he'll have no XC plays. But I completely forgot that Lao Lao actually also reborns, and he has the level modulation one anyway to be able to make an XC play. So I should have waited for sure on the Widowmaker. Here he goes for Fan Fan again, and this again just destroys Striker, gets rid of Ray and whatever Link monster. And he's going to attack over the Gigi that I stole from him. He can use the Qinglong again to just get another monster banished to be able to recycle back with the trap to be able to pop a card. And he's going to add Lulu in the end phase with the Gigi. So here I'm like, alright, I have Dark Hole, but I know he has a trap up and he just made it live. Or rather, I have Mystic Mine, sorry. But I drew Dark Hole and I drew Regeki. So I'm like, I might as well use Regeki and then pass. I thought like, okay, I'm going to Regeki, he's going to float with the Fan Fan. But apparently just didn't have enough targets. So my Dark Hole wasn't even needed. Here's Here I'm just like hoping they don't die. He draws an Ash return. He can summon his Lulu. And I notice he's running out of resources quite a bit. He's actually going to target his own spell so he can recycle resources and then use Kieran to summon back. And he's going to go and attack me for quite a lot of damage. And then go into a Shen Shen and then pass play. And here I draw a Desires, which is very much needed. I'm going to Mystic Mine to play around Ash, and he actually did have it, which is nice. And I draw a copy of Set Rotation and Afterburner, and I believe the Set Rotation is dead because I banished both my area zeros. So that's dead. And I'm like, well, it's only a matter of time before his trap actually is going to kill me. So what do I do here? I'm going to have to pass and hope that he's not going to be able to actually do anything. But luckily for me, he has fewer cards in deck than I do. So I do have at least that avenue to sort of wait out. But again, I just have to make sure that this doesn't end up getting him there. But I'm not drawing anything meaningful. And like the only way for me to realistically out it is to use Afterburner. But I don't want to Afterburn, you know, his monsters to turn off, like to kill my own mind. That doesn't make any sense, right? So I am kind of just forced to sit here. I draw a Cosmic and I'm like, great, but then I realize I don't have enough life to pay for it. But he keeps drawing nothing that'll actually out this board, and he would use Harpy's Feather Duster, so I'm like, ooh, if he doesn't play like Cosmic of his own, then I'm actually in a pretty decent spot. Even though I continue to draw not very good cards, doesn't really particularly matter that much. I don't even bother saying the Set Rotation because it's just dead anyways. He draws E-Telly, I draw a Book of Moon, and here I'm like, alright, at least I have some defense now. Pretty decent. I should have set this Widowmaker a long time ago. I go for Rhoda, and then I just go ahead and keep passing. And he's not finding anything, and it's pretty clear that he's probably just not going to have any outs to, you know, any outs to mine, which is great for me. And sometimes that is just the name of the game. You sometimes just sit on Mystic Mine and do this until you eventually win. It really do be like that sometimes. Alright, so for the second match here, I decided to actually just go straight into the deep end and play against Dragon Link. This deck is meant to, of course, beat combo decks, just given that we're playing so many board wipes. And even though Virtual World is a combo deck, it does also have control elements to it, whereas this is a much more, you know, aggro combo deck, so to speak. You guys understand what I am talking about. But we are going to, of course, be going second, regardless of who won the die roll here. He's going to start off with Black Metal Dragon, turning it into Striker to get Boot Sector as well as Red MD to hand. Then he's going to banish the Striker Dragon for Red MD. He's going to bring back the Black Metal Dragon, then go for Romulus, which will add him a copy of Divine Lance. He's going to then activate the Lance to equip Phalanx from deck. And then he's going to Phalanx unequip itself before turning the Romulus into a Link Cross. That's going to net him 2 over 1 tokens to his field before turning one of them as well as the Phalanx into a Martial Metal Marcher. That's going to bring back a copy of Phalanx, and then he's going to Chaos Space so he can pay a cost before summoning Herald to his field. He will do just that, and then summon Collapse Serpent. Go into Fiber. Fiber will summon out a copy of Synchron. He'll go for LP, grab a copy of Wyver Burster, then go Striker. And because he doesn't have a Tracer yet, he's going to summon that off of the LP instead of Brotar. He's going to go for the Protector Whelp as well as Pissy to bring back the Tracer. He's going to go for Seal, go for Wyver Burster, Chaos Space, get him a draw. He's going to go for Union Carrier and get back his Collapse Serpent. He's going to World Legacy Guard Dragon, hasn't used that yet, for a copy of Black Metal, which he'll pop with Tracer to get Recharger. Then he'll get Savage on the field, and he'll equip with Buster Lock. Full combo, guys. So, it's our turn, and we have quite a lot of actually good tools to make use out of this. So, of course, we're going to start off with Upstart just to see what we get here. We get a Mind Control, which is pretty good. We're going to target the Savage. He's going to negate that. Then we're going to try and Afterburner away the Herald. He's going to negate that. And I'm like, I could sit on Mind, but let's go ahead and use Dark Hole. And he's going to bounce back his own World against the Guard Dragon and then get Brotar. And I'm like, oh, I could also still sit on Mind here as well if I wanted to. So, might as well just do that because I know that he's probably not playing outs to it. He's going to draw Impermanent Pass. And then we draw a Widowmaker, set it and pass. I'm like, the onus is on him to make a play, and I'm pretty sure, you know, Dragon Link doesn't play outs, and he actually just concedes. Alright, so game number 2 here. Predictably, he makes us go first, but this time we're a lot more ready with the copies of There Can Be Only One as well as Judgment at our disposal. So we're able to go ahead and go for a copy of Array off this Rhoda, and then we can go for a Shizuku, and we set 3, and we use Shizuku to add a copy of Multi-Rhoda hand, and then pass turn. He's going to summon a copy of Pankratops. He's going to then normal summon a Black Metal Dragon. And I figured I have 2 copies of There Can Be Only One. Even if he Pankratops pops one, I just flip the other one and he won't be able to really play with his Dragon Engine. So the chain kind of goes how I expect it to. And his Pankratops will kill my There Can Be, but he's actually unable to do anything with the rest of his hand. So he just passes. Here I draw a copy of Afterburner. I'm going to go into battle phase. I can't go into Hayate or anything because I'm under my own There Can Be Only One, so activating this multi-roll is kind of pointless. I kind of was anticipating to do a little bit more, and then I realized, yeah, this locks me out too. He's going to get Red MD to hand before I pass. He picks up a copy of Collapse Serpent. He's just going to set a Recharger because I can't beat over that. And I just go and run face first into it, and I'm realizing, okay, well, now I have to actually do something before he finds his sideboarded outs for sure. I draw a copy of Book of Moon here. That's not going to really help me. Just going to hit over the Rocket Synchron and pass. He's going to draw a copy of Black Metal Dragon. Then he's going to pass back. I draw a copy of Upstart. Let's see what we can find off of that. We're going to find a Desires, which is pretty decent. We're going to use that. And we're going to get a copy of Hornet Drones as well as a copy of Rose. And here I'm like, okay, I can use multi-roll to get rid of my own Shizuku so I can start poking with Hayate instead of, you know, losing to just a single defense position recharger. So here we get in for 15. We're going to use the Hayate to send a copy of Widow Anchor here, just so we can reset it in the end phase with multi-roll since we activated Hornet Drones this turn. He's going to set a couple cards and pass. Still unable to really deal with this. I'm going to go ahead and poke for another 15. He draws a copy of Talents, which isn't going to do much. He passes back. I draw another There Can Be. Just go ahead and pass, or attack and then pass again. Very thrilling gameplay. It's Floodgates. I'm going to go ahead and set more cards. I draw a copy of DD Ground. Just going to keep poking. We're 2 turns away. Here he draws a copy of Cosmic, and he's going to use it on the There Can Be. I have the Judgment for that, but he drew the red Reboot. So we're going to have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! A little bit here. So that, of course, resolves. So he can go for Striker Dragon. He's going to add a copy of Boot Sector. He's going to Boot Sector. And then here I'm like, okay, I need to be a little bit careful, right? While he's popping off, I figure I should use this Demise of the land when I have a good opportunity to do so. I'm going to negate the Savage just so he can't negate my stuff. Then he's going to go for a Quick Launch. He's going to bring out Tracer. He's going to banish it to summon Red MD. Red MD bring back the other Tracer. He's going to get Romulus. That's going to add Divine Lance. And here it's like, okay, if he's going to go for the traditional line, where he, of course, goes Link Cross after this, that's probably the best time for me to use Demise of the Land, because then he'll just have way too many monsters to be able to effectively clear everything. I flip it up here. Go ahead and activate Mystic Mind. The third one is banished, actually. And then he's going to go for Herald, and he's just going to link everything into Boro Sword. And it's not enough to actually kill me. And I'm like, alright, I can go ahead and send Ray, and I'm like, I don't actually have to trigger Ray here, because I have a plan for my next turn. He's going to summon the Collapse Serpent and then go into Erratic Steel, and then pass his turn back. I have multi-roll, so I can set Hornet Drones, which is going to be pretty nice. Here, I decided to just go ahead and pop the Spheres. I'm like, if he has something important, then so be it. I'm just going to go ahead and use the Hornet Drones, and go for Hayate, and just attack for game. Alright, so that last matchup against Dragon Link was very favorable, and it showcased exactly what the deck wants to do against combo. But what happens if you play against a combo deck and you don't get so lucky, because you're not always going to open the best. This hand has the bare minimum. It has ways to force the gates as well as the Mystic Mine, but we're against the matchup that can actually just peek out a hand and rip out the best card, and there's a very clear target in this particular opener. He's going to go first, of course, because we're always binding second. He's going to start off with Oliver and go for a copy of Renaud before going into Izzle to add a copy of Red Layer. He's then going to mill 2 and summon a copy of TG Striker from deck, then go into Link Cross and summon 2 level 1 tokens. Raise your hand if you've seen this play, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to go for a copy of Martial Metal Marcher, bring back a copy of TG Striker, then he's going to go for Tatsunoko to go into Savage to protect him from hand traps. Joke's on you, I don't have any. He's going to go for Fiber next, summon a copy of Despot 1. He's going to go for Auroradon, summon out 3 level 3 tokens. Then he's going to go ahead and bring back the Despot 1. Then, unsurprisingly, go into a copy of Power Tool Dragon, which will get him a copy of DDR after he reveals 3 of them. He's going to then go for Auroradon to summon out the Colt Wing from deck, which will summon out 2 more level 3 tokens, and bring back the Despot 1 yet again. He's then going to follow up with, of course, the standard line of Herald, go for the Phoenix Blade to banish the Striker, DDR back the Striker, go into Roland, use Roland's effect, and then, unsurprisingly, go for a copy of Charles. He also has Gear Free at the top of it, you know, nothing too spicy there. He's going to go for Oliver, set Imperm, use Roland, as well as use Charles to rip out the very obvious target from our hand being Mystic Mine. We draw a copy of Widow Anchor. Okay, I think we can make this work actually. We're going to start off with the Paw of Desires, which he does not bite. He knows that we have 2 Dark Holes. He kind of has to save his negations. And then we use a Widow Anchor to go ahead and target the Herald of the Arclight. He's going to negate that. He's going to negate our Afterburner on the Savage with the Savage. And then we can just go ahead and clear his board with Dark Hole. Now we have Area 0, and wait a second. Let's check our Desires real fast for no particular reason. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Well, we still have Rose. Thankfully, that card came out. Oh. Huh. Would you look at that? And we, of course, don't have the room for the third one because of budgeting. Well, we still have Hornet Drone, though. Right? Oh, come on. You gotta be kidding me. Well, might as well just try and play it out just to see what happens. I mean, we are playing the Mystic Mine deck. We're gonna have to be used to playing slow games anyway. We whiff off of the Area 0 on Desires. He's gonna draw Nibiru, and he actually has cards that he can play. So he's going to go for Connector into Dolphin, go into Isolde. He's going to add a copy of Fire Flint Lady, and use the second effect again. Still having Eclipse in deck, plenty of them. Going for Renaud to add back the Gearfried, and I'm like, alright, well, as long as he doesn't kill me, at least I have Dark Hole to be able to clear his board. He's going to attack for 4,600 damage, and I need to find something pretty quick. It's a Book of Moon, which isn't really going to do a whole lot, so I just go ahead and Dark Hole. Hope that this Desires can get me there. I mean, I already banished all my monsters. What's the worst that can happen? Gonna go ahead and area on this Cosmic, and oh, I think I revealed a Pankratops there. Okay, maybe that's a monster that can actually help out here. He's gonna go for Fire Flint Lady, and then gonna go ahead and Book of Moon. I really do not want him to have a Fire Warrior to get his Gearfried back. I pick up a Mystic Mine, which is okay, except I have fewer cards, so I can't really deck him. I whiff again off of the Area 0, not too surprising. I think I'm just completely out of Sky Striker targets. He's gonna flip back up the Fire Flint Lady. This time when he goes to run out, I have the Strike Cannon for it. Alright, so hopefully he can just not be able to out this Gearfried. He is able to go for Formula and draw and get a couple of cards, but he isn't able to actually do a whole lot here. Alright, well we draw a Rhoda, which is completely dead by the way. We're gonna go for Area 0 again, whiff again, not really too surprising. If only we could attack with this Gearfried, but Shark Cannon says no. He draws a Rhoda of his own, he grabs Ogier, and I'm like, alright, well we need to find something pretty quick. He is not too far away from getting a monster onto the board again. I draw more cards that do absolutely nothing, and keep whiffing off the area. He draws a copy of DDR, which is going to be very useful for him. He's going to try and bring back the Charles that he banished off of it, but luckily we have the Cosmic for it. That's a one-turn reprieve at best, honestly. We have Dark Ruler, a very, very dead card right now. We're going to try again, number 5, I believe, and yep, we keep whiffing. You know, I think we actually just have 0 targets. He's going to set Ogier. I wonder what his plan could be with that. I draw a copy of Cosmic. That's fine for other copies of DDR, I guess, but I really still can't do anything. I really just need to draw a copy of Pankratops for turn. Maybe I should just stop shuffling my deck with Area. He's going to Tribute Summon for Nibiru, and then out Gearfried. Well, it was nice while it lasted, but now we are really on a short timer. I draw a copy of Book of Moon, and it's here where I'm like, alright, Dark Hole. I hope that Book of Moon and the normal summon is going to be good enough to get there. There is a copy of DDR, and I did not set the Cosmic because I don't have enough life to pay for it. He's going to use Charles, I'm going to Book of Moon it, and he's going to, on resolution, pop my set copy of Dark Ruler. Wasn't doing anything anyway. Luckily, we ripped the Regeki, but I still am looking for a way to close the game with Pankratops, and I won't have enough turns to actually deplete his life points. And now we draw it. So, we are officially unable to actually do anything, but he is going to draw Red Layer anyway, and end our suffering. Alright, so that last game was definitely a frustrating one. But it was a statistical anomaly. What are the chances, really, that we banished literally all 6 of our ways to put a striker monster on board with our first Desires? Very, very low. So, hopefully things will pan out a lot better this time around. We're going to make him start again because that's what our deck is designed to do. He's going to start with a normal summon Oliver and then go for Durendal to add a copy of Renaud to hand, Deja Vu from last game. He's going to follow it up with a Fire Flint Lady and go for a copy of Isolde, which will add a Red Layer. He's going to then go for Gearfried just to be extra safe. I can definitely respect that. He's going to go for a Isolde to bring out TG Striker, then go for a Link Cross, and go for the same play as last time. He is going to play this very, very smartly, actually. He's going to go for Metal Marcher, go for a copy of TG Striker, and then go for Tatsunoko and go for Omega. That way he'll have space to be able to use Auroradon, as well as, you know, summoning Despot 1 after going through Needle Fiber. He's going to go for Auroradon, summon out 3 level 3 tokens, and then go for a Despot 1 summon. And from here he's going to go, of course, for the Power Tool play. It is unfortunate that he ripped the Widow Anchor out of her hand because, you know, that's one of our ways that we can deal with his board. He's going to go for Coltwing next, and then Coltwing summon tokens. He's then going to bring back the Deskbot. And here he goes for Herald first, and he summons Renaud to add back Living Fossil that he milled off of the Isolde. He's going to go for Savage here as well. Normally you don't go for both the level 8 Synchros, but he was able to do it with his hand. He can Blade away the Striker to DDR it back, and then suddenly he has Living Fossil as well as Rolling on his field to be able to go for Charles. So he made his entire board with Gearfried and Omega. So very impressive indeed. And he has a Cosmic to back it all up. He's going to Smoke Grenade me, and here he's going to, of course, rip the Desires because he can just negate anything else. Luckily, we drew another Desires, which is pretty decent. I'm going to go ahead and use Rose to try and, I don't know, force out a negation. He does use Gearfried on it, but I mean, it's not really profitable for me. He's also going to use his Captain Roland to equip to Charles. That way he can use Charles' effect on Resolution to try and pop my Ray. I'm going to use Ray effect in response, of course, because I have to, and then he's going to Savage Negate that. Alright, one more negation left. Gonna go for a Afterburner. He had to also pop something on his board, by the way, because of the Charles, and nothing on my side of the board. He's gonna negate my Afterburner with a Herald. Then I'm gonna go for Desires, and oh, Set Rotation. Okay, that gets me Mystic Mine. I can buy myself some time. And then Enter Phase. Okay, good. He's gonna draw for turn. Oh, he also drew Cosmic. Well, you know, luck is not always on your side sometimes. Okay, so for the final matchup, I figured that I would showcase a deck that wants to also blind second, right? So the deck does, as you can see, quite well against combo decks, you know, banishing 6 monsters notwithstanding, but we are going to just try and duke it out against another deck that really does not want to play going first. Of course, we are the one that lost that exchange, so we're going to go for a Rhoda, for a Rose, and then go for a Ray. We're going to activate Mystic Mine here because I really do not want my opponent to pop off too hard. He's going to go for Extravagance, then draw 2. He's going to go for Lost World, and he has Lost World, Ovi, and Fossil Dig, so he's able to have literally everything that he could ever want. And here, I probably should just use Book of Moon, because now I can never Book of Moon until the token comes off my board. But he's just going to do Dino things with Miscellaneousaurus, banishing himself to grab Archosaur. Going to pop Baby to add Pill, Baby going to summon Miscellaneousaurus. He's going to go for Link Rebo and then Phoenix, so he can pop my Mystic Mines to be able to pop off a bit harder. He's going to pop the Egg token, which will protect with Lost World to destroy Baby, which nets him a Giant Rex, which will link away for Pentastag, banish with the Pill, bringing out UCT and bringing back the Rex in the process. He's going to go for Dalka. He's going to clear my board. I can't really bring back Ray because he'll just attack with Conductor. And his last attack, I'm going to use Book of Moon on. Gotta find something real quick. He sets Imperm and passes. Oh, Dark Ruler is okay. That answers the Conductor, so I can at least have a chance with this Rose. I'm going to fire that off, and then go ahead and use this Rose. I'm like, oh, I can't really attack over this Pentastack to bring back the Rose. Unfortunate. Just going to have to try and attack directly. Here I go for Afterburner and try and add it back, but he does have the Imperm for it. So it looks like it's probably just game over. Alright, so for game number 2 here, I made him go first, which he definitely predicted because he decided to go first, but I figured I'd take no chances and try and like not mind game him too hard because that would ultimately end up backfiring in a deck that is so heavily built to go second. So he starts off with a copy of Archosaur and he pops Petite Pteranodon in hand. It's not the ideal setup, but it definitely gets him there. He's going to go ahead and add Pill and then summon the Ovi off the Petite. He's going to use Ovi to add a Misk to hand and use its hand effect. Then go into Link Rebo, use Misk to banish Chew to summon out a Baby from deck, and then he's going to go for Overraptor, popping the Baby to summon back the Petite from grave, triggering the Baby in the process to go for a Misk. He's going to overlay for Logia, which is a nice pivot in this matchup. He's going to go for Pill after going Secure Gardener to grab UCT and set Imperm Pointer pass. Well, let's see what we can do with our hand. It's actually very good. He's going to go for a Pointer and he can take a look at his good hand. He's going to rip the Dark Ruler, which is understandable because that turns off his entire board. Then main phase is going to go for Pankratops, which he will negate the summon of, which allows me to use this Cosmic on the Imperm there. Then I'm going to go ahead and Area 0. And then before I get a chance to combo with Ray, he's going to actually use UCT, that way it won't get value off this area, which is pretty smart. But also, he gets to pop this Baby after I summon Hayate off the Ray to get a Pankratops from deck. Here I'm like, alright, I better just use Desires now, see what I can get. I pick up an Afterburner, which I try to use to force the Pankratops. He's going to chain it to kill the Hayate, which I will then respond with Ray and Grave, of course. Then I'll go for Kagari. Kagari will add back the copy of Afterburner. Then I'll go to Battle Phase, attack over the Secure Gardener, and then go for an Afterburner on the Conductor. Go for main phase 2, and then go for Shizuku. I could have gone for Mystic Mine that whole time, but I decided, better to just try and play out the engine as best as I could. I go for the end phase, Shizuku, search Shark Cannon so I can banish the second Miscellaneousaurus as follow-up. But for turn, he draws a copy of Extravagance. That's a pretty good one. He's going to banish 6 and draw another Extravagance, but also he's going to draw an Overraptor, which is a lot more important here. He has a second Archosaur in hand, so he doesn't bother going for Misk stuff. He instead just goes straight for Conductor and then beats over my Shizuku. I don't bother bringing back the Ray just because he's going to attack over it with Conductor anyways, and going into Kaina will result in pretty much the same thing since he has enough resources to attack over it. Maybe a little bit less damage, but in the long term I'm not too concerned about that. For turn we draw an Upstart. Alright, let's see what we can find off the top here. Another Dark Ruler, not ideal. I'm going to go ahead and go for Area. hitting a Hornet Drones, which is decent, but I don't feel confident in actually being able to resolve the board state, so I just sit on mine and pass. But I know he has outs, so gotta find something real quick. He's gonna use the second copy of Extravagance, which he picked off the first one, and finds a whole lot of dinos and another hand trap, which is, not gonna be super great in this instance. He's gonna pass back turn. I draw another mine, which is also not gonna do much, but I really feel like I need to make a push now. I'm gonna go for Hayate off this Hornet Drones and attack for 15, sending pretty much nothing because I don't need to, and then go for Hayate to add back the Hornet Drones, and then get Shizuku for a copy of Widow Anchor. Gonna pass turn back to him. He's gonna draw the third Extravagance, which he now can't activate, and I'm realizing, wait, now that he can't actually link anything because he doesn't have an extra deck, so I'm able to kind of just pick apart his board very, very slowly. I'm gonna afterburner away his Logia, go for Shark Cannon after stealing his Conductor and using Hornet Drones so I can get a whole bunch of monsters to my field. I can actually go for Pankratops, and I can Hita steal the Logia, which happens to be fire. Then I'm going to go ahead and pop the Overraptor and just get in for game. Alright, so game 3 time, and he's gonna of course make us go first. We are prepared for it, but we didn't open very, very well, so we're just gonna have to hope that we get there with our minimal setup. We're gonna start off with a copy of Hornet Drones after setting 2 for some reason, I don't know why I did it in this order, and then go for Shizuku. I made the mistake of not adding back Hornet Drones off Kagari, and that's gonna come back to bite me for sure. For turn, he's gonna draw a second copy of Extravagance. He's going to use that to banish 6 and then draw a copy of Overraptor off the top with a Evolution Pill. He's going to Lost World and Overraptor, and he already has the baby, so all he needs is a copy of Misk. He's going to then Misk and try and use its grave effect, but luckily we have the There Can Be Only One, and that is the end of his push. He's going to hit over Shizuku, and oh, I don't have a Ray Engrave, and I don't have a way to get back to a Striker Engine. We're going to have to hope for the best here. We're going to draw a copy of Ray for turn. Well, better be lucky than be good, I guess. We're going to go ahead and area away the token and find a copy of pretty much nothing. Well, not a big deal. Zeke exists now, which is nice. We're going to Zeke Crash. That way we can get our Hayate to be able to send something meaningful. We're going to tag out in the battle phase with Ray and then go for Hayate to send a copy of Area. Just to be able to get more spells engraved and then pass play. We don't have any way to actually get access to anything else under There Can Be Only One, keeping in mind. He normal summons a copy of Ash, I think to try and go into Phoenix, but he actually did banish it off the Extravagance, which is pretty unfortunate. He's going to go for Overraptor to attack. I'm going to bring back Ray, and then it doesn't let me... Yeah, it doesn't let me go into Shizuku in the end phase here. A little bit annoying. But we're going to go ahead and draw a Cosmic, and that gets rid of the Lost World. That way we can do a little bit more damage over time. We're going to attack to the Ash, and then go into a copy of Hayate and attack for 15. Pretty decent. Before passing a turn back. Again, this There Can Be Only One kind of stopping our push as well, but stops him a lot more. He's going to Extravagance and then go into Lost World and go for that to play, set a copy of Petite, and then pass back. We draw a copy of Metaverse, which is decent if we need to go for Mystic Mine. I'm going to try and get rid of this There Can Be because I can start making a push now that he's at 4k, but it doesn't fire. We're going to have to settle with Hayate and then hope that it's good enough. Here he decides to attack again, even though he didn't do it last time. But ultimately he's going to just try and run me out of Hayates, which is definitely a reasonable game plan. I'm going to go ahead and try again with Area 0, and I find Ray. Okay, that's pretty good. Here I go for Kagari. I Kagari back the Hornet Drones. And I'm going to Afterburner away the Overraptor, but then he has a Misk, and that makes things a little bit more difficult, because I really wanted to chain Widow Anchor so I can take control of it, but that Afterburner was the third spell, so I wasn't able to do that, unfortunately. Alright, we're going to have to settle for a Hornet Drones, as well as a Shark Cannon on the Miscellaneous Source. Luckily we do it this Ray Engrave if things don't end up panning out the way I want to. I'm going to Hita for the Misk, and then go for Hayate, and also normal summon Ray, and just go into Bomber Dragon. That should actually be enough for game. Alright, so concluding thoughts on the deck. It performed a lot better than I thought it would, and I thought it'd actually do fairly well given the way the metagame shifts. Of course, that Infernoble match was a little unfortunate, but I think you guys can see the point of the deck, right? You're just trying to out your opponent's stuff, and then stick either a Mystic Mine or a Striker monster, simplify the game state, and just ultimately win from there. The deck does very well. It can board into very, very strong going first tools, and I think it's a pretty good representation of what Striker might look like. Of course, with reprints coming in maximum gold in just a couple of weeks here, or I believe it's actually next week, definitely keep an eye out on prices. Fit things like Borosword in here, you can play hand traps if you wish to, and just a whole lot of other things that might fit into your budget. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comments. Subscribe for more informative Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me in Discord, Twitter, or Twitch, all through links in the description as always. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. See you guys!